Now, politically, it's a lot easier getting a consensus in this country to save money on all this overseas expenditures rather than domestic programs. So we're now up to close to $1 trillion a year trying to maintain our empire around the world. And we're in a hot war in Afghanistan, one in Iraq, getting ready to hit Iran, and that whole policy has to change. But in the meantime, we need to bring these troops home from Korea and bring them home from Europe and bring them all home. You know, we as taxpayers have to pay more for our not national defense, for this militarism than all the other countries put together. There's not a single country in the world militarily that can attack us. And we shouldn't be so frightened and intimidated that we have to go after third world nations that don't have weapons and try to provoke them into some type of war. It makes no sense. We, you know, when we are sworn into the military or into Congress or as a president, we swear to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic as well. The foreign military threat essentially does not exist. That is a concoction. The fact that some people can get in here and do us harm because it's a reflecting of bad foreign policy, that's completely different than what happened during the 60s when I was drafted into the military, when the Soviets had 40,000 nuclear warheads and they were 90 miles off shore. It's completely different. Today, I am convinced that the greatest threat to our liberties today and to our Constitution is right here at home with acts like the Patriot Act.
Well, another very far-reaching and bold statement by Dr. Paul that the foreign military threat essentially does not exist. And it's difficult to argue with that. I mean, one might argue that we might look at China as a threat at some point to attack us with nuclear weapons if they develop the missile technology to reach us. But he's right that in comparison to the epoch when we were facing the Soviet Union, we certainly have no real foreign military threat facing the nation, and you know, that's something that's pretty bold to state in that way. So my hat's off to the doctor for that. And to state that that the real threat is internal. Now that's probably even more bold to say that the threat is internal to that the threat is those who have and are destroying our Constitution through means such as the Patriot Act. It's a very, very bold statement, and I've been waiting for him to be that bold. To be honest with you. That's a major issue with me. The Patriot Act, the looming police state, or not even looming, the present police state that we are in, which is ever growing and ever expanding. To me, that's a key issue. That's a key focal point for me. And I've felt that he could be a little bit more plain about it. He alludes to it, but he often sort of doesn't really speak plainly. And I think today, in this speech, we're hearing him some pretty plain, straight talk, and it's very refreshing to me to hear that.
So I get asked at times by those in the media that, we know what you're against. You're against the war. You're against this and that. Well, what are you for? Well, you want the government to do something? Yes, we do. We want our government to do the proper things that are authorized in the Constitution. The most important thing about the Constitution, the purpose of the Constitution, was to restrict the government, not the people. It's supposed to provide a strong national defense. Our national defense actually is weakened because of the way we run our foreign policy. It's supposed to protect the borders. No, the borders are unprotected and totally ignored. The government is supposed to give us sound money. Gold and silver is legal tender. No, they give us paper money, which is counterfeit. They're supposed to protect property rights. No, they tear up property rights with eminent domain. They don't even let us use our property. We're not even allowed to use our property without about 25 permits, so who owns the property? We should own it, not the government.
Just have to comment there that there's a little piece that I think that we can all use if we can just sort of memorize what he just said there. The government, the Constitution is there to restrict the government, not the people. And that all the things that the government is supposed to do, the things that they're supposed to do for us, you and me, the American people, they're not doing. They're supposed to protect the national defense. They're supposed to provide national defense. Instead, they're waging national offense, effectively decreasing our defensive ability. They're supposed to protect the borders, the integrity of the national territory. They're plain flat out not doing it. They're supposed to protect the financial well-being of the nation through sound money. Instead, they give us paper money, which is worth essentially nothing and is worth less and less every day. They're supposed to protect our property rights. Instead, they make private property more of a difficult problem with every new regulation. So if we can just keep what he just said in mind, I think that what he just said can reach a lot of people, and it's good material, I think, for a Slim Jim, for a card to pass out, for a flyer, for anything up on your website, whatever. So very valuable stuff there.
How are we supposed to sort out our problems? Social and also in the economic sphere. It's supposed to be solved with private personal contracts, voluntary agreements. The government has a responsibility to enforce those contracts. But today, the contracts are dictated to us by the government, whether who you hire and who you fire and how much you pay and who can come into your buildings. And now we have so many. Can you imagine what the founders would think about how many people we have today harassing us? We have over 100,000 federal agents now who carry guns to harass the people. It should be the other way around.
So yet another very bold statement that it should be the other way around. I don't think he intentionally means that we should actually literally harass the government. But in a sense, yes. I mean, in a sense, I don't remember which great founder it was that said so, but I believe it may have been Franklin who said something to the effect that you have a republic as long as the government is afraid of the people and not the people afraid of the government. And let's face it, we are afraid of our government at this point. We don't know when they're going to pull some kind of an invasion of our privacy, or audit our taxes, or fine us, or find some lame excuse for putting us in jail. There's so many different laws and regulations, you almost don't even know when you're going to trip over one. So, a very, very, very bold point again by Dr. Paul. And this speech, this after listening to this the second time, is fast becoming one of my all-time favorite Ron Paul speeches.
They advised against a standing army, but it looks like today we have a standing army of bureaucrats. This is the only place where I think we should have gun control. Take the guns away from the bureaucrats.
Unbelievable.
So we understand, I think, the problems that we face. I think we all understand really how we got here by ignoring the Constitution.